Hi, this is Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett, drummer for Michael Jackson and the Jacksons, and you're listening to the MJCast.
The following is a presentation from the MJCast, the internet's premier podcast on all things Michael Jackson.
You're listening to the MJCast, by MJ fans, for MJ fans.
The idea is to innovate, or else why am I doing it?
When I create my music, I feel like an instrument of nature.
You let it create itself, really. I know I do. And I love to entertain. That's one of my favorite things. I love my fans. Just simply Michael Jackson.
Welcome to the MJCast, your source of news and discussion on the King of Pop.
Hello and welcome to the MJCast. I am Q, one of your hosts for today, and today we're interviewing one of Michael's most long-standing collaborators, potentially his most long-standing.
Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett worked with Michael Jackson and the Jacksons as their tour drummer starting in 1979 with the Destiny Tour, and continued to work with them later for the Triumph Tour, the Victory Tour, Michael's 1988 Grammy Awards performance, the History World Tour, his 30th anniversary shows, and eventually, This Is It.
Not only did Jonathan Sugarfoot have the honour of collaborating closely with the Jacksons, but he has also toured with artists such as Madonna, George Michael, Prince, Elton John, and Lionel Richie.
Jonathan, it's an honour to have you here on the MJCast. How are you going?
I'm doing pretty good. A little mistake in there. I never toured with Prince. I worked in the studio with Madonna, and Prince was on the same song, "Keep It Together." So I've never toured. I don't want misinformation to get out there. So I've never toured with Prince, although he has asked me about touring with him, which never came about because he was at a lot of the after parties at the Jackson shows, Elton shows, and cameo shows, and he'd speak to me and give me a combination of my performance. And he asked me about playing with him, but it just never happened. I think because I was Michael's drummer, there was a bit of a conflict there. So, but I want to correct that. I never played live with Prince, just in the studio on the same song with Madonna. We played at different times, but we played in the studio, same song for Madonna.
Oh, thank you for the clarification. That's a pretty cool story on its own.
Yes. And there was a couple of things. I also did the Grammys in '88 with Michael, and I did the Diana Ross "I Want Muscles" track with him. He produced. I did that with him as well. There's a couple other things that I've done with Michael as well. That was left out.
So many things, so too many to mention almost. It's been quite the career for you.
It's been a blessing, to work with Michael.
So let's take it right back to the very beginning. We love to hear about people's early lives and how they got, into music. When did you first start playing drums?
Well, I was 6 years old, and my father came back from work. He worked at the post office in New Orleans, Louisiana, where I was born and raised and where I'm from. And he was supervisor there, and one of his coworkers' sons played music, and he came back from work that afternoon with the notion of asking me and my two other brothers if we wanted to play music to keep us safe and out of the streets and everything and keep our minds on something positive. So we said yes. And I'm the youngest of the three brothers, and so he went from the oldest to the youngest, and he asked my oldest brother, what would he like to play? And he said, I'd like to play guitar. And but he didn't. He changed his mind and decided to play bass guitar. And so my father said, fine. My middle brother said he wanted to play guitar. And my father said, okay, fine. Now, I only knew guitar and drums, but I wanted to play guitar really bad, to be up front. And I saw these concerts with the guitarists up there getting all the attention and action. So I wanted that spot too. So when he came to me, he asked me if I wanted to play guitar. And I said, he asked me what I want to play music. And I said, yes. He said, which instrument? I said, I want to play guitar. He said, well, we can't have all guitars. You got to play something different. And the only other thing I knew was drums. And I said, all right, I'll play drums. I was stuck with drums. and it turned out to be, after I started getting into it, learning my first beats and learning that, finding out that I can coordinate my hands, which I started on a parade drum. In my very, very beginning, I only had a parade drum for the first 2 years. I had started liking it, having control and being able to dictate what my hands are doing and making sort of a musical sense out of it and the rhythms, and it became exciting for me and challenging for me. So I got into it. I loved it, and after that, my father every birthday for the next 3 4 years got me additional pieces to the drum set. The next birthday he got me a bass drum and a cymbal, and then the next birthday he got me 2 rack times, and the next birthday he got me a floor time and 2 more cymbals. And by the time I was 9 years old, I had a whole set, and I could play. But all the time, I had a year to learn how to incorporate the other elements of the drum set. And I got a hi-hat cymbal at one point too. So by that point, I was playing at dances and parties and talent shows at 9 years old, and block parties and different events like that, and school talent shows and things. And so I did that. And at 10 years old, my brothers, man, they were older than me, so they wanted to go into nightclubs and play. So they sneaked me into nightclubs at 10 years old, and I make money. And they give me some money, and I say, "What's this for?" And they say, "This is gonna get paid for doing this." I said, "Wow, this is cool." So I'm this little 10-year-old boy, and at the nightclub they sneak me in the back door, and I'd play. And my mother and father say, "As long as he don't go by the bar and he start drinking and nothing like that, so your guys take care of him." And it was fine. I come at home at 1:30, 2:30 in the morning, unload my drums from the car, my brother's help, and then I wake up and I go to sleep and wake up at 6 o'clock, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Only have 2 or 3 hours sleep and go to school. It was just an interesting life, So that's how I started off.
Wow. So you started like really not long after the sort of same age as Michael started, as a kid in the clubs, in different venues, touring around the local area. Incredible.
It's very interesting that Michael and our lives, in very, very many ways, are very parallel. Now, I always say that God had planned on us being together all along. It was His intention, because great many things in his life that happened in his career that we all know publicly were the same as in parallel to mine, which most people don't know publicly. But once my book comes out and things come out as it is gradually, like now, people are going to start comparing it and making the determination that these guys were meant to be together. I was being groomed to be his drummer when I was a little boy, and he was being groomed to be the artist that I would work for. So at that point in '79, in February of '79, God had planned on getting us together. I got lost on the freeway and found him and his brothers, that they had found a musical director and said they were auditioning drummers, who was a friend of mine, and auditioning drummers. So I can't tell the whole story now because nobody will buy the book. So it was destiny, and it was miraculous, absolutely miraculous. So when you read the story or hear it in the book, it'll be an audio CD where I'll be talking about my story and telling it verbally like this, so you'll be able to read along as you hear it, me speaking it, and your hair on your arms will stand up, because everybody's does when I tell them the miraculous story of how I got with the Jacksons, and I was a fan of them just like everybody else when I was a little boy, and all of a sudden I was from being I wouldn't say nobody, because no one is nobody, but from an aspiring drummer, just made his way to California a month and a half later. I was with one of the biggest groups in the industry, Michael Jackson and the Jacksons, or at that time the Jackson 5 or the Jacksons. And like I said, my story will give you chills and make you feel and believe that miracles are true.
Well, I was going to, before we sort of ask you about sort of the Jackson 5 and things, Jacksons, what sort of other artists have inspired you throughout your career from when you started so young right up until now?
Well, I'm born in the 50s, and I grew up through the music in the 60s, and 70s, 80s, 90s, on up to now. But in my growing years, nurturing years, in the 60s, there was all the artist Elvis. I was a big fan of Elvis Presley. And then the Beatles came out in 63, 64, or 62. And I got into them, and my brother's older, but my older brother got into Rolling Stones, and I got introduced to them. Around that same time Motown had just started jumping off with all their artists. And I liked the grooves of their music and the R&B of their music. And I got into a lot of the artists, even though I didn't know who the drummers were at that time, because they didn't label the albums with the musicians. They didn't give the respect to them at that point just yet. So I had to just be inspired by the beat on a particular song and sit down and figure it out and learn it. And then I'm playing a Temptation song or Smoke Around with a Miracle song or the Jackson 5 song, different artists that were in Motown. So I got into that sound and those fields of playing drums. The Stax Records artists, that were on Stax Records, same thing. They didn't give credit to the drummers or the musicians. So I just learned the songs that I liked, and I thought the beats were really exciting. And then James Brown started getting more prominent, and I absolutely got turned out by his drummers. His drummers are amazing. Clyde Stubblefield, unfortunately, rest in peace. We just lost him. J-Bo Sparks, and we haven't lost him yet, thank God. And Melvin, I forget Melvin's last name. There's three drummers that were like really the cornerstones of his earlier stuff in the mid 60s and early 60s and late 60s. I got into them really, really heavily and learned all of their nuances and stuff and their percolating grooves, so to speak. And then Zigaboo from the Meters, my hometown boy, I got into him. They used to call me Little Zig because I had learned everything he had done on all his records and played it just like him pretty much. And people started calling me Little Zig instead of Sugarfoot at one point. But he was a huge inspiration, my first inspiration as far as directly as a drummer. And I still, pay homage to him. He's a good friend of mine. All these people have become friends of mine who I've met at some point or other. And then I started getting into rock. I started getting into the Stones, Charlie Watts. I started getting into Led Zeppelin, John Bonham. I started getting Carmine Appice, Vanilla Fudge, and all the groups. He's been with a multitude of groups, and Rod Stewart. And I started getting into, after that, fusion. Lenny White and Harvey Mason playing smooth jazz and fusion. I started getting into Tony Williams and Narada Michael Walden. And a lot of the fusion drummers started exciting me then. And I started growing my craft into fusion techniques and patterns and rhythms and stuff and time signatures. And with them and quite a few other drummers, And then I started getting into Doobie Brothers and a lot of other rock groups. Grand Funk Railroad, Don Brewer is a huge influence on me. I love Don Brewer's work. And then I got into one of my absolute favorites artists and groups was Tower of Power. David Garibaldi's a huge influence, much like Zigaboo, which Garibaldi states in his conversations, in his articles, that he was influenced by Zigaboo as well. So I understand the way he turns the rhythms around and the way he's got all the elements of the beat percolating like Zigaboo, much like Zigaboo did, but in a different slick way, more smooth and slick way. His own touch to it and technique to it. And then I started getting to more rock and roll groups and pop and R&B groups too. And I started getting to funk, and when they start coming around, you couldn't function. Slave, Steve Arrington is huge. I'm a big fan of Steve Arrington. Cameo, who I'm working with now currently in the late 70s. I started getting into them is a lot. And a lot of the treasured funk R&B bands, Daz Band and I mentioned SOS Band and Barkays in the 60s and 70s. And all the funk bands, of that two-decade era, I started getting into them as well. And then, of course, at some point, Michael decided to, and of course, absolutely, I can't forget all the Jackson stuff, as the Jacksons, as well as Jackson 5. But at some point, Michael decided to go solo. And that's when he called me to work with him and start doing things with him in the late 80s and 90s and a couple of which I missed, because I also got called by Madonna, who saw me on the Victory Tour in 1984 with Michael and the brothers at Dodger Stadium and told the manager, that's my drummer, and called me for her first tour, Virgin Tour, and a True Blue album I did with her. And so I worked with Madonna 5 years doing the Virgin Tour and the True Blue album. Then I did the 1987 Who's That Girl tour. And I did the Dick Tracy soundtrack, and I did the Like a Prayer album in 1990, and I toured on a Blind Ambition tour, my last tour with her, and on. And then, I don't know if you want me to carry forth with the timeline of things, or that's a further question. I might have got ahead of myself, but I got going, and the train
we got a lot of questions coming up around Michael and your work with him. That's for sure. So
so it went on from Janet to back with
Yeah.
Michael in 96, 97 for the History Tour, his last tour, unfortunately. And that was on that. And then I rejoined him for the 2001, it's a 30th anniversary special in New York, which was an amazing event. It was unbelievable, man. It was incredible. And then I rejoined him when he called me for This Is It, and with the very unfortunate result of that experience, heartbreaking.
Wow, you sure definitely have great taste in music by the sound of it. And speaking of those early Jacksons and Jackson 5 records that you were getting into back in the 70s and the 60s, what were some of the records that they were putting out that you sort of gravitated towards the most?
Well, in the very beginning, of course, it was like ABC, I Want You Back, Stop the Love You Save, I'll Be There, Mama's Pearl, Looking Through My Window, all the songs of those natures and the early Jackson stuff, And then later in the 70s with Dance Machine and Blame It on the Boogie, early 70s or 80s and stuff like that. And all the songs of that. And then they got into the Triumph album and all the albums since then that they put out through 1990. I actually played on 2300 Jackson Street record. I played on some songs on that one.
I love that album.
That's one of your favorites, Jamin. You love that album.
It's such an underrated album. It's brilliant.
Yes, I think so too. I agree with you. I don't know if it was a backlash for them not being with Michael anymore or whatever, but it didn't get promoted as well as it should have been. It was a good album, a really good album, and I think it had some great songs on it. And I think I played on 3 or 4 songs on that one, overdub stuff. So, but I'm kinship to all the Jackson stuff because I love it. And not only is that I work with them, but before I got with them, I was a fan for the decade or so more that I was exposed to them, just like everybody else since they first came out and emerged on the scene.
Jonathan, what was your first big break in the industry?
That was Michael and the Jacksons.
That was it. That was the big break.
I took a chance, on a notion and from a call from a friend who had called me and said Jermaine heard me on the tape of our local band, which the band broke up. He moved to California, and like I said, I can't tell the whole story because then my book would be like firewood or fire for a fireplace. But anyway,
the book is always better than the movie or whatever. So
podcast in this
the book is always going to be better.
Yeah, he mentioned that Jermaine had heard me on the tape and asked who the drummer was, and could he get me out to California? He lived out here in California, so it took me about 6 months to make up my mind. I kept going back and forth because I had never lived away from home, and I was a little afraid and nervous. I was very shy back then, very timid and shy, and so I was quite a bit nervous and afraid to move from home and the safety of home, everything I knew. And in 6 months, I was going back and forth. I'm going. It's going to be exciting. The next thing I know, next day or 2 a week, I said, no way, I'm not going out there. I get stuck out there. I get lost and somebody be homeless or something out there. I get scared. And I go back and I get excited. I got to do this. No, I got to stop being like that. I got to do this. All that battles within me for 6 months. And then finally, in December of 78, I was thinking about it really heavily and torn which way to do. And then it hit me that, Jonathan, you may be an old man. And you'll be on the porch at the house on the porch, rocking in your rocking chair, back and forth, and you'll think to yourself, I wonder what would have happened if I had just gone and given it a chance, if I had just had faith and trust in myself and faith in God and just given it that chance. I wonder how different my life would be as opposed to being here, sitting in this chair, old and dilapidated and having done nothing with my music. But lived on the dream that never happened. I wonder what would happen if I'd have gone. And that thought right there, picture myself being old and decrepit and having done nothing with my music, it changed me. And I said, I am going. I got to take this chance. I'm going. And I decided, and I thought about it. I said, I can always go for like 6 months. And if it doesn't work out, I'll always come back. Home will be here. I got to give myself this chance. And I got determined. And I decided to drive out in the middle of January. And then a month and a half later, guess what? That was God tapping me on the shoulder, saying, go, you're going to be all right. That little notion kept being in my mind. Something was telling me, no, just go. Trust me. It's going to be all right. That kept reoccurring over and over again. Trust me. Go. Don't be afraid. Watch and see. It's going to be all right. That kept reverberating in my mind, in my spirit, something like a voice or something. And when I decided definitively to go, I did. And as proof, a month and a half later, I ran into my friend on the freeway who was from New Orleans and they told me that the brothers were auditioning drummers right then. And he decided to tell them about me. I asked him, well, tell him the guy you've been talking about, because he was telling them about me all along, is in town. He just wants a chance. And he said, this is the last day of auditions. I don't know, they may have a drummer. They got somebody coming in today, but it's the last day. I asked him, well, please ask him, just do this for me. Ask him with the extended one day just to give me a chance. Ask him that. He said, okay, when I go in this afternoon, I'll ask him. And he called me about 11:30 at night. He said, Sugarfoot, be at Mother's house at 3:30 in the afternoon tomorrow. They extended it. They're going to give you a chance. Now, if I wouldn't have listened to that little voice when I was thinking about it, New Orleans not going, and I wouldn't have listened to that voice and had that notion in my mind, who knows, God might have put it there, of me being an old man, missing the opportunity of lifetime, and which it turned out to be. If I wouldn't have listened to that voice, I wouldn't be here doing this interview with you right now. You wouldn't know who the heck I am, and nobody in the world would have known I existed or played drums. But sometimes you have to listen to those little voices that tell you things, that's trying to guide you and deliver you to your destination of your destiny. So I'm glad I did, because I get to do this great interview with you guys and have fun.
Thank you.
Terrific advice to listen to that little intuition and that voice. That was, amazing advice for people out there.
So in essence, I auditioned and I got it. And after 2 weeks of rehearsal, the last person to me who did it, I got the job with the Jacksons. And I've been, you know my history from there. So it was a miraculous time, a miraculous event in my life and decision, life-changing decision I had to face with. I just faced it on, and I'm so glad I did, because I've seen the world so many times and been able to share my gift with the world and enjoy playing drums and have fun at things and meet a lot of people in the world, which is wonderful, wonderful.
And I've read online that the song that did it for you was Shake Your Body.
Yeah, Shake Your Body Down to the Ground was a hit at the time, around that time. And it was interesting because back in New Orleans when it came out, it was the coolest beat ever. Every drummer was defined if you can play Shake Your Body or not. You were defining whether you was a good drummer or not, a bad drummer. Most people couldn't play it. And the thing is that they couldn't play it without leaving any element of it off, hi-hat missing, something missing in the beat, in the song, in the groove, they're trying to do something else on the kid. So, in a way, sometimes, how do I put this? Sometimes ignorance can be bliss, because I didn't know how the guy was doing it. I just knew he was doing it, and it sounded like it sounded. And then I got to know, well, he's human. If he can do it, I can do it. I just got to figure it out. So I got to experiment on the drums with that beat, putting the needle back, because we had the needles, 45s and LPs, and I had to get off the drums each time when I make a mistake and put it back and forth and run back and forth to the kit. So I just figured out and pictured in my mind as I'm listening to the beat, a video in my mind of how he had to be doing it, crossing his hands, not to leave out the hi-hat. And then I started scientifically experimenting different ways. And then, eureka, I came up with the way to do it, and nothing was left out. So when I did that, what sealed it for me with the auditions was that beat. But little did they know I had worked that out back in New Orleans. And, when the first record first dropped, then I had to play it on a recording session for a producer at Alan Toussaint's world famous studio in New Orleans. He's a great producer, historic producer down there, who had one of his staff member producers, and I used to work for him doing demos, and he was producing this woman, this girl, and he wanted to steal that song, so straight out rip it off. So I had learned it already, and so I told him I could play it, and so we got in the studio and I played it for them, but the brothers didn't know that. So, of course, when I auditioned, they were shocked. They were like, okay, we're going to see if you can play this. Nobody came in here could play it. I was pre-prepared. I already played on a record that basically the guys stole it from. But anyway, they called that song after playing Stop the Love You Save, I Want You Back, ABC, I'll Be There. Then that's when Tito said, okay, we're going to see if you can play this. And he said, do you know how to play Shake Your Body Down to the Ground? He said it with attitude, with his arm across the neck of his guitar, and had a posture like, we gonna see. These guys, he had his head cocked to the side, his head was cocked to the side, like, yeah, right. Here comes another sucker. He gonna think he can play it. We gonna see this. He can play. Can you play Shake Your Body Down to the Ground? I said, yeah, I can play that. And I said it with so much happy confidence. He said, he sat up and said, what? You can play Say Goodbye Down to the Ground? I said, yeah, I can play that. I had total confidence because I knew it. He said, okay, okay. And everybody looking at each other. There was mumbling, laughter and murmuring in there and in the room. And it was the studio at Havenhurst and the Brothers in the Family studio. And they said, okay, we're going to see if you can play this. And so I said, okay, let's go. And they counted off and I started playing it. And about 30 seconds in the song, Randy was there, and Jackie was there, Marlon was there, Tito was there, Michael was not there. And all of a sudden, from across the room, Randy comes walking towards me, and I'm playing it, and everybody started looking at each other. And the band members were there, other band members were there, and they're like looking at each other, puzzled look on their face. But I said to myself, oh man, I'm blowing it. I'm screwing it up. They all looking at me funny. I'm thinking that, and I'm playing it. I said, I'm going home. They're not going to take me. And Randy came over toward me, looked at me, turned his head to look under the hi-hat and the snare drum. And he looking around and he looked at the guys with this funny look and he put his hand on his mouth. And I'm saying, oh man, you blowing it. What are you doing wrong? And then he said, oh, wait. He waved his hands. Wait, you guys, wait, stop. Sugarfoot, stop. And I said, what? Well, I'm playing it wrong? He said, no. Just play it again. Play it again one more time. So I said, okay. And I started playing it again, that speed. And he said, no, he stopped me again. No, play it slow. I said, oh, okay, I've never played it slow before. I'll do it slow. So I played it slow where he can see the exchanges of things. And I start playing it slow. And he's looking at me playing and analyzing my foot, my hand, both hands, and the way I'm crossing over to the times and different things. Then he grabs his face like real quickly and suddenly and said, oh, and threw his head back and walked and stumbled back from my drums and looking at the people and the guys in the room and said, wait. And they start laughing and talking and mumbling each other, and Jackie and Marlon whispering each other's ears, smiling. I said, I'm thinking to myself, man, they laughing at me. I must be really screwing this up. They were laughing at me and stuff. And that's when Randy came back over and said, no. I said, what's wrong? I'm playing it wrong? And then Randy came to me and like laughing, smiling and said, no, Foot, you don't understand. I said, what? He said, that beat was a 3-part overdub. I said, 3-part, what is that? I didn't know what overdub was. He said, 3-part overdub. He said, that beat was played 3 times, 3 separate sections. The drummer couldn't play it all at once. So we had him go play the main beat. And there was kick and snare hats with straight 8 notes. And then we had to go back on a separate pass of recordings and overdub on a different track, the hi-hat part that opens and closes at certain intervals. And then he said we had to go back on a third pass and overdub the tom parts that interwoven in the pattern. And here you are playing it all at one time, and nobody else who came in could play it at one time. I said, oh, really? Why they couldn't play it? And I was just puzzled. I said, really? Why? And they bust up laughing. And he said, oh, and then he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, Sugarfoot, you're our drummer. And he said, yeah, you're our drummer. And I said, oh, really? Thank you. I was, thank you. He said, Jermaine had first sent for me. He's the one that my friend got the call at first that asked me to come to L.A. and be with him on some project. I never found out what it was about. But that's when Randy said, no, you our drummer. Jermaine's not getting you. We got you now. Jermaine's not getting you. Our drummer. And I said, oh, okay. So that's how I got with the Jacksons. He said, you our drummer. And then they told me, Joseph, they call him Joseph, their father. I said, Joseph want to talk to you. And so now he said, come out in the yard. We ended everything because, I had the gig. And I went in the yard walking around in the field of the grass with Joseph talking business. And the first time talking with anything about that, my first tour ever. And he said, the boys like you. They really like you. They want you to be their drummer. You want to be the Jackson 5 drummer? You want to be the Jackson drummer for the Jackson, my boys? I said, yeah, that'd be great. I love that. He said, okay, yeah, they really want you. You're hired. And that's how I got the gig.
Jonathan, that is honestly, out of all the years we've been doing this show, I think that's the best story, the best told story I think we've heard.
Really?
I cannot wipe the smile from my face.
That was amazing.
You painted a picture that was incredible.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm glad you enjoyed my story.
I can't wait for that book.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes, I'll give it more detail in the book, of course.
Of course.
And I'll do a great recording of it, and I'll tell every aspect of it that happened and transpired from the beginning of that whole episode that got me here. And the miraculous story is just unbelievable. But yeah, that's how I got my first professional gig was with the Jacksons, and that's how it transpired. As far as the Shake Your Body Down winning me the audition, I didn't know. Like I say, ignorance is bliss. Sometimes I didn't know that the guy. I couldn't see him doing when I put the record on. I couldn't see how he did it. I just know he did it. I was ignorant to the fact that it was a 3-part overdub, that he had to cheat and do it. And I just figured he can do it. I can do it. He's a human being. I can do it. I got to figure this out. And if I get this, it'll be really cool. That was my thing as a young man. I get this, it'll be really cool. So, and he's doing it, so I want to do that. So that was my challenge to myself. And it worked out. It worked out wonderful.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Shake it right on to the gun and sing. Let's shout and shout. Shake it right on to the gun and sing. Let's shout and shout. Shake it right on to the gun and sing. Let's shout and shout. Shake it right on to the gun. Do you think we should learn to play hard again? Can I do know that I want it? All the time, don't fit all of this back. And I do know that I want to. Like, yeah, let's shout the shot. Shake it right on to the gun and sing. Let's shout the shot. Shake it right on to the gun and sing. Let's shout the shot. Shake it right on to the gun. Like, yeah, let's shout the shot. Shake it right on to the gun. Shake your body down. Shake your body down. Shake your body down. Trouble must have been the fire inside of me. But I do know that I love it. You do know something good into your soul. And I do know that I want you. Let's get the shout out shot. Shake it right out to the ground. Everybody! The shout shot. Shake it right out to the ground. Let's get the shot. Shake it right out to the ground. Let's get the shout shot. Take it over. Girl, take it over. Woo! You know that this one is like this. Let's stop that. Shake it right out to the guy like this. Let's shut up. Shake it right out. Yeah, this. Like this. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout. Shake it right on to the ground. Let's dance. Let's shout, shout.
Let's put the other one up like this. Come on. Let's make a beat for victory, y'all. Come on. Let's put them together like this. Come on. Yeah. Come on. Look around you.
How's life?
Yeah. Get down, Toronto. It ain't nothing but a groove, y'all. That's all. Come on.
Like a re-re. He really makes me dance. Don't stop till you get it. Keep on with the first dance. Don't stop till you get it. Keep on with the first dance. Don't stop till you get it. Keep on. Bring it on, bring it on. Shake your body.
Shake your body.
Your mighty body.
Mighty body.
Shake your cracho.
Shake your body.
Your lovely
Your
body.
body.
Shake your booty.
Shake your booty.
Your mighty booty.
Mighty booty.
Shake your booty.
Your booty.
Your lovely booty.
Your lovely booty.
All that booty.
All that booty.
Your lovely booty.
Your lovely booty.
Shake your body. You're crazy. Ow! Bring it on, bring it on.
Hey, this is Taj Jackson of 3T, and you're listening to the MJCast.
We spend a lot of time as Michael Jackson fans talking about those later tours, like Bad, Dangerous, History, This Is It, all of that kind of thing. But I think some of the tours that get missed in the conversation a little bit are those early tours like Destiny, Triumph, and Victory. I want you to talk to us about the Jacksons as live performers. Like, how hands-on were they in their tours in the 70s and 80s?
How hands-on? They were in absolute control. It was their vision. Their project, their endeavor, and they were absolute controlled. I don't know who they planned with as far as production people and all that stuff. I wasn't privy to those meetings and things like that, but the things that we were described by them to do as far as show arrangements, the brothers had total control over everything, and that was collectively, not just Michael, it was everybody. All the brothers had input. And it was a great experience for me. And you got to understand, that was my first professional tour ever. And I was a learner. I was in school. I was all eyes and ears, pencils sharpened and ready, and tablets ready to be written on. I mean, mentally and emotionally, because I don't read music. I don't know if I said that, but I don't read music. Everything's from the spirit and the soul. And memory retention, because I don't read music, compensated by developing a sharp memory retention as to what I hear, and a few times I can get it. A time or two or a few times I can get it and mimic it. So it's all mimicking. So they come in and explain what they wanted to do, and or we all get copies of the cassettes. At that time, that was what was happening. Get copies of the cassettes and of the songs, the record songs, album songs, and we learned them. That was our homework. We get that like a few days, a week, maybe sometime a week or two before, and we do our homework as professionals. And it was my first time being a professional, but I do it because I knew what it took. I wanted to be on that level, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity, so I took it so seriously, very seriously, to go in there knowing what my part was, and doing it very, very well, just like the record. It was always in my mind, just like the record, so I can impress them. So I did my homework. When I show up, then we start dissecting the songs as far as how much of a song we're going to do in the intro, the first verse, second verse, or if we're going to do a second verse or not, a bridge, if we're going to go to the bridge or not, if we're going to have a breakdown, or we're going to have a extra solo section in the song, or we're going to stretch out the ending, the tag of the song, and the vamp of the song. And all of that was done in the rehearsals, and the brothers' ideas. And I kept quiet all of that time because I was, like I said, I'm in school. You don't talk when the teacher's talking, and all of them were teachers for me, and I was learning from the best, what I considered the best. So I had great love and admiration for them. Love grew even more as I went along through the years with them, but my admiration was always at its fullest when I started with them. I had great admiration. So, of course, in respect, and so of course I adhered to what they wanted. I was learning. I was a sponge and absorbing everything I could. I was like Michael. Michael's like a sponge. Me and Michael are parallel, like I said, in many, many ways and levels. And I was like a sponge and absorbing from all of them because they all had great ideas and very intelligent and very creative because they had been in the business so very long, since youth. And I had so much to learn. So the Destiny Tour was my training ground and my proving ground. And it was fun tour. It only lasted, I think, 3 months. But it was an experience of my lifetime because it being the first time is the experience of my lifetime. I mean, all the other tours, even the big ones, are magnificent and great, but you always remember your first time, because that's your challenging time and the one you overcame to be that, become that, what you wanted to be and sought to be. So Destiny Tour was that, and we played all the hit songs from the Jackson 5, of course, and then from the Destiny album that was featured, was out there promoting, and all of those songs was fun to play. And great arrangements, and it was just a small band. One keyboard player, the musical director who got me the audition, my friend James McField, who's from New Orleans, and his mother's house was a block, and still is a block from my mother's house. And we was in rival bands back there, and he was a wonderful spirit and a great player, and concert pianist and pop pianist, and he had a lot of input with the brothers. I can't afford to leave that out because I mentioned the brothers doing everything, but no, it was also including the expertise of James, who helped guide them too and had great ideas because the arrangements of the show were fantastic. They would collaborate with him, put it all together. They had really great ideas as well, but he would formulate the whole thing, and if they had something really creative, he'd go around and with them and figure out how to incorporate it within the song, the arrangement, or the embodiment of the song within the show as a collective. So, yeah, they had a great collaborator with James. He's a great friend of mine. And still to this day, we talk. Now we back in touch and we talk and reminisce. When I go to New Orleans, I go down there and talk with him and hang out. He comes to my mother's house, and we have great love and admiration for each other. We're like brothers and kindred spirits, as we were when we first met playing in bands, rival bands in New Orleans. We hit it off right away, and we've been that way all our lives. It's pretty remarkable. We're close friends, and he helped guide me. He helped groom me as well. You know, his tutelage in that period of time was most beneficial to me and effective for me, because I trusted in him. I knew he knew what the brothers wanted, and he knew I had the skills and stuff, and I knew he had the knowledge, and he had the ways the brothers like to work. So I just listened to him and did what he said. They liked what they like, and he guided me in things like that. And he did a lot of the breaks and the accents and taught me all that stuff, because they were doing shows before I joined them. I replaced the drummer that had left, and so we were doing that show. I had to learn the show, and I only had 3 days, 3 measly days to learn the whole show. My first professional tour ever. I had only 3 days, and I don't even read, so I had to memorize everything, every aspect of it in 3 days rehearsal, and then we hit the road. So
superhuman, Jonathan, superhuman.
I don't know about that. But
Was like you said, Destiny? You have such fond memories of the Destiny tour. It was like your first. Was Destiny your favorite, or if not, what was your favorite of the Jacksons tours and why?
I loved that tour, and it was amazing, and it was learning, and it was a great show. I sometimes listen to the audio recordings I have of the rehearsals and of some of the shows, and I still, like that. I really like that show, and it was new for me. Know what else was new for me about that show? It was my first introduction to costumes, stage costumes. I had never been around that kind of stuff. In New Orleans, you just put some clothes on you got from the local hip hop store, or a store that was like the local fashion with the bell bottoms. You tie your shirt up and let your stomach stick out, or something like that, muscle shirts and stuff like that, tight pants, and that was a nightclub scene in New Orleans. But these were actual stage costumes for a professional concert tour, and I got my first experience on the Destiny tour. Took a look at their amazing costumes to me at the time, amazing costumes, and they gave me some old Jackson costumes to wear myself, and I've got old Jackson 5 costumes, and I'd never been in that element of it. It was exciting for me to be in the whole show business element of it, that even went to the costumes. But then we went, and then after that, with a tour you mentioned, failed to mention, was Off the Wall tour, was the second half of '79, which was a combination. Michael had already dropped Off the Wall album, was out there to promote that, and the Destiny album. So we tend to call it the Off the Wall Destiny/Destiny album, tour, I should say. And that one was in the winter of '79. Destiny was from March 1st, and we finished around, I think, right before June 1st, something like that, early June. And then we went back out September 1st and 2nd. And then the first show was my real treat, was in my hometown, New Orleans. So I got the first time to play professional on a professional level in my hometown for my family and my friends and my city to see me with the Jacksons. So that was pretty incredible for me. And that was the Off the Wall tour, which was amazing. And you could feel the step up it was that, and see the step up it was that from Destiny, because there was a lot more production, stage production, and tremendous more lighting. And not tremendous more, but a lot more lighting. And the stage was different, and the show, we changed the show around a bit, to add the off the wall stuff in there, and you can see it on YouTube, and they got incredible costumes, way better than the last ones. It was a pretty amazing. The brothers' costume was amazing, even more so, which got me excited because I'm into fashion and stuff like that, and designing clothes, and so that's another hidden element that had me excited for doing concerts, because of the uniforms and the costumes. So, designs of them, concept of them. And so that was a really great tour as well. And we added horns. And then I would say, but my favorite, when we did the Triumph tour in '81 and did Victory, but I would have to say the Triumph tour of the Jacksons tour was my absolute favorite. because the way the stage was designed with these automatic pods I should say remote control pods, the lighting pods that would move like robotics and scissor arms, and I was on risers most of the tours. The second two tours I was on risers. I had a riser and they had 10K lights. I don't know what those are. Super movie set lights, like 10,000 kilowatts, whatever it is. And it was underneath my riser, underneath the horns riser, underneath the keyboard player's riser, and they shoot right into the audience in their faces and blind them out. But not that I take pleasure in blinding the audience out, but then send them to the eye doctor and stuff like that. I don't take pleasure. I'm not like that. But
they would leave with the sunburn.
Yes, indeed, a tan at least, So, but that wouldn't do that whole show. It would be on occasionally certain songs. They come on for a little bit and then they turn off. But to me, that was the magnitude that Michael always talked about, bigger than life, and the magnitude of having a lighting I had never seen in my life that big, and utilize them in that fashion, to create the silhouettes that they wanted to have while it was on stage was extraordinary to me, with a person of a production mind and designer's mind. And our risers moved front and forward and backwards, and those three separate robotic pods and scissor arms with lights all over them. They would work like three independent robots, moving up and down, and the panels, the pod panels would tilt in different directions independently. It was something like out of Transformers, something out of Spielberg movie, or one of those kind of movies. It was just incredible production. It advanced in production over the other two tours. Victory was the tour of magnitude. It was phenomenal stage. I can't remember the dimensions, 240 feet by something else, 90 feet deep, 240 feet across, something like that. We had 80-something trucks. The magnitude was phenomenal. That's the first time we started doing stadiums. In all those stadiums, and the magnitude of that would be what it is. Costumes were amazing too. Once again, the show was amazing as well. But I think on that tour for me, the songs were a little bit too fast. That's where the brothers wanted them. But I always thought they was a little bit too fast. So I like the tempo and the pace of the songs that we did in the first three tours. They were more relaxed and comfortable. The only thing about the Victory tour was the tempos and the pace of the songs were a little bit fast for me. And even in the Triumph tours, it got a bit fast. On that live album, I thought they were too fast, and I used to mention it, but they said that's how they wanted it. So, but out of the Destiny and the Off the Wall Destiny tours were more sensible tempos. But I like Victory because of the magnitude. It was on a scale that hadn't been done before. And the audience that we played to, we sold out 6 nights at Dodger Stadiums in a few hours, and we did 6 full sellouts in Dodger Stadium, which was unheard of at the time. And it was a great tour, I just wished it had gone over to Europe like they intended, but so big, they say they couldn't make money. To ship it over there would cost exorbitant amounts of money, and they couldn't make money on it because the venues in Europe aren't as big as the ones here, and to fit that down, they would have to scale it down, and they didn't want to compromise the production value of the show, so we wound up not going to Europe with it. So, but of the tours that I did with the brothers, I said Triumph was it.
That's great, and that was a question from one of our followers on Twitter @NigelWilliams7. He really wanted to know the answer to that, so thank you, Jonathan. And when we spoke to Tito Jackson just a couple of weeks ago, that was actually a thing he said as well. He was as a one of the Jackson brothers. He was extremely proud of that Dodgers Stadium achievement of selling that out so many times for the Victory Tour, even so many years later.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Even to this day, when you think about it, Dodger Stadium is a humongous stadium, and to sell out 6 nights there, and as I remember, the tickets sold out so fast. It was unbelievable. It set a record. The tickets selling out. I was very, very proud of that show. But I just, for some reason, and it was the magnitude of lighting, sound, and everything was like off the Richter scale and off the chain on as far as the magnitude of it. But I'm kin to the lighting design of the 81 tour. I just liked it so much. Maybe because I like Transformers movies and all that stuff and sci-fi stuff. It was like sci-fi stage to me. And Victory had some of that too, but for some reason I just liked the concepts that they had on the Triumph tour with being a smaller stage but having that kind of dynamics
Yeah, I mean, I love Triumph too. That's probably, I would say, my favorite tour of the Jacksons as well, because the sound is just so organic and all the singing is all completely live. It's just the instrumentation is incredible with the horns, and I absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful tour, and we were lucky enough to see some high definition footage of it actually in the recent Spike Lee documentary that came out.
Yeah.
I think it's called Michael Jackson's Journey from Motown to Off the Wall.
I'm in that. I'm all over that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's it. That's exactly right.
It was great for me to see that. I hadn't seen that high definition footage as well. I wanted to look at it. I mean, I'm so proud of that, and having been a part of that, and I did the tour that promoted it, so they put me in. I'm not on the record. John Robinson did the record, and he's another master drummer. He's a big hero of mine. I admire so much, and I'm grateful to him. He set the templates that I had to learn and play to, that made it so pleasurable and enjoyable, the way he approached the music, and he created those beats within the studio, and what he did was so masterful and so artistic and so musical. It makes it fun for me to play all the time. I don't get tired of playing, replicating what he's done. I just put my attitude, my energy, my finesse, my articulation, to what he's done, to make it live, to bring it up to live, and the strength and attitude and the power and the dynamics. It's all in those things, to touch. I try to play it that it feels like him, but I put nuances of myself in it. It makes it personal to me. But he's done a lot of Michael's recording work, and the stuff that he's played on has been really, really fun to play, and great to play because it's so musical. He's such a he's a musician. He's not exactly just a drummer. He's a musician. He writes music on drums. That's what I do. I attempt to do, and I strive to do. I'm not a drummer. I'm a musician, and I write music on drums when I play music. I'm writing songs. I'm playing songs on the drums alone, and I can play a song with no other instrumentation. I make the drums sound like a song, and that's what I strove to do since a young kid. I want to be musical, not just a timekeeper, and not just for dynamics and accents and stuff like that. I wanted to play musically, and I wanted to move people's spirits and make them not able to control their bodies. They have to move. They got to dance, and there's a power in that. There's a magic power in that. The touch without touching. When I play my drums, you can be in the back of the stadium, and I guarantee you, I promise you, let me play my drums, and you will move. Your neck's going to move. Your foot's going to tap. Something in your body's going to wiggle. You're going to start dancing, and just give me the opportunity, and I can make you dance, because that's the power and spirit God gave me to do. And musicians are that. We have power over the souls of many who come into the distance of our work. And that's how.
Yeah, and not just in stadiums either. I mean, I remember sitting in a movie cinema after This Is It came out.
Yeah.
And I remember just hearing those initial beats of Jam and Wanna Be Starting Something, and people around us everywhere were moving.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's my
absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing thing. It's like magic. It's like it's wonderment. That I can reach inside you. Everything John Robinson can do, and many other drummers can do, and musicians, but mostly drummers can reach inside you and turn the switch on, and make you move like a puppet and groove, like a dance puppet. So I mean, I take it as a gift and as a blessing to have that. It's a power. I always say it's a power that we have, especially as drummers, as I mentioned. Something with rhythm, which is the original language for mankind from the very beginning, was people beating drums across in Africa to send a message. The original language. It's something about that connects.
Primal. It's something very primal, and it goes across every culture, every continent, from the earliest civilization. It's such a primal thing, and it's carried through right through to now.
Yeah, drums is the global language. Drums and rhythms. Music is as well, but it stems from drums. The rhythm of drums is like you say, the Tower of Babel scrambled the language, but for some reason, rhythms weren't touched. Drums and the beat of a drum, we can reach every language, every culture, every nationality, every religion. We can reach the souls of them that bypass all the other particular differences that divide us. We play a rhythm and it unites people all over the world. We play drum beats. If I can get my drums and play, and everybody understands it all across the world, would understand it, appreciate it, and feel it. And that's a power. And like I said, it's a blessing God gave me and all other drummers that I love and respect out there. And I don't feel I have no competition, and that I don't look at other drummers as competition. I look at it as brotherhoods, and it's just people. We people of language. So, and pleasure, and we bring people pleasure to dance, and we're just people like that. That we're uniters, no matter where you're from and what you do in life, and all the dividing aspects of mankind, we bring you right back together. You get us in a club, we get you in a club or an arena or a stadium, and we bring everybody back together. I think it's a blessing to have that kind of power, and I don't take it for granted. It's fun. It's the pleasure of my life, except for my fiance. She's the pleasure of my life too.
Jonathan, another great thing you do is your social media presence, and we love your account on Twitter. It's at jmoffatmjm, and you put out some great material on that, some video footage, all kind of things. And I remember it was a few months ago when you were tweeting about the Grammy performance, the 1988 Grammys. It was the first time that I actually learned that you were drumming there, but sort of backstage, you were watching a video screen, watching Michael perform. Can you tell us about that experience and how that show came together and what you thought of it?
Do I have to? It's that, but not my favorite memory. I mean, it's a great memory, but when you hear the story, you're gonna bust up laughing and you're gonna see why it's not my favorite memory. Sometimes
you can't not tell it now.
I sometimes choose not to tell it because it's not the most proud thing I can talk about and let people know. Okay, God dog it, you're gonna push me into this. Why you have to bring that question? I was told to do the Grammys with Michael, and I was all excited. I'm gonna be on the Grammys with Michael. I never did the Grammys before. All right, fantastic. So I get there and I meet with Michael. And we talk about things and stuff, and we're gonna do Man in the Mirror and stuff like that. So I was at the time I was with Yamaha Drums, and so I contacted the Cartage people. They got this. I told them all the sizes. I had this humongous Yamaha kit. And I'm thinking I'm going to be on stage at first. I said, this is going to be awesome. It's going to look cool. And I'm going to set up nice. And I have all my cymbals. I got all these cymbals. At the time, I was using 10 or 12. And I said, I set all this stuff. But then they said, no, you're not setting up on stage. And I said, huh? They said, you set up behind the curtain backstage. I said, they're not going to see my drums. So they said, no. They said, no, you're behind the curtains. And we're going to have a monitor for you to watch Michael so you can do the performance with him. I said, oh, man, all right. So in the meantime, there's several artists, much other top artists on the Grammys, and of course, and they're musicians and all the top musicians. And they were like, "Oh, Sugarfoot's here, man! It's gonna be off the chain. It's gonna be amazing, man! Get to see Sugarfoot close up for and backstage too. We could be right up on him." And all these musicians around, top people, and artists and stuff. And I set up my drum. They saw my cold-blooded drum set up, and I'm setting it up like proud. I think I'm gonna be playing everything. Then all of a sudden, right before we get to play, they called me for meet with Michael. And they told, well, you're not going to really be playing. You're going to hit the accents with Michael.
Oh.
So what happened was they started playing a song, and then I was like, oh my God, I got all these musicians and artists here waiting to see me play, and I'm not going to be playing. They're going to have the tracks. So I'm like, oh my God. And I started thinking, this is kind of funny. I said, what am I going to do? I was panicking. What am I going to do? Oh my God, they're going to see me just sit there all that time. I said, I got to do something. And I looked at my big old drum set. I said, I'm going to look terrible with all this stuff here. And I said, I know I got to get rid of some stuff. And as I told the tech, I said, that symbol over there, those symbols, you could take those two down. I'm probably not going to hit those. And they say, okay. I said, and you know what else too? Those two drum times like that, I probably don't really need those. I could use them on another show. But, you can strike those too. That's okay. I just, I don't need all that stuff. And then so little by little, I whittled the set down to like half of what it was and doing that kind of stuff. And there were people like looking, what's going on? They're taking the set down. He's supposed to be playing. All the people folding their arms and looking, what's going on? And I got it down to like 5 cymbals, 10, 12. And I got the time down to like 4 or 5. And I said, yeah. I said, well, that's fine. It was like still too much, but I couldn't keep going. It made me look worse. So I got it down. I said, this is still going to be embarrassing. So what happened was they started. Michael came on and started the thing, man. It's so hard to even tell this story. And all the people say, they shuffle in place like, it's about to be on. This is going to be off the chain. Sugarfoot gonna be killing it back here. And so I'm sitting there. I wanted to have a cloak over my head, and I wanted to hide in the closet. And I sat to sit there. The song stopped playing. I'm sitting on my seat, not doing nothing. They hear the drums. They hear the music going. And it said, they're looking at each other like, what's going on here? And I had to sit there and eat crow or whatever you want to call it and be humiliated and sit on the drums. And the drums are just heads are clean, not a strike on them or anything. And they all sit there and I'm just sitting on the seat looking around. I'm closing my eyes because I'm looking at the screen. I'm looking at the curtain there. They couldn't see my eyes exactly. I'm like, close my eyes and say, oh, Lord, why did you put me through this? Why this is happening? Why did it have to be like this? And I couldn't hide anywhere. I was right there, and they right around me. And I'm like, this is the most humiliating thing in my life. So the whole song going by, and they just waiting for me. When you gonna play? What are you gonna play? And it gets to the end of the vamp where Michael runs. If you watch that video of Michael Man in the Mirror on 1988 Grammys, he started getting excited. He's jumping up and he started running around. And then he's shaking his hand real fast and he spins around. And when he spins around, I go, daga, 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 daga. And when he drops down his knees, I go, pop. And that was all I did.
Oh,
He did that twice.
Wow.
So he got back up and he started doing it again. He did it again. And that was my whole performance. And all these people looking around and I could just hear them laughing. It was like so humiliating, so embarrassing. But when you take a job, you do what the job entails. And that's what it was. And I had to ride through that humiliating time and experience. But at least I can say I was on the Grammys with Michael.
You were on the Grammys.
You were.
We can understand now that you've told the story.
Funny that I tell it. It's funny. Like if I had to say, no, I'm not gonna need that time. You know what? That's a bit too much stuff. I don't need all that stuff.
Yeah.
That cymbal over there. I don't like the sound of that one. Just take that one away. I whittled that set down in a few minutes after setting all that stuff up. It was so embarrassing, man. But I lived through it, and here I am. I've survived, and I'm a survivor. And I'm talking to you guys now, telling this lame story.
Well, you got a story from it, and those little moments that you did play, we appreciate those, and I'm sure Michael did too.
Yes.
I know you're being kind. I know,
I'm going to ask you about the History Tour. I actually was very blessed to see 2 performances in Australia of the History World Tour in 1996, and that was the only MJ solo tour that you worked on. How did the History Tour and your work on that compare back to the Jacksons tour? And did Michael seem as enthusiastic about touring by that stage in his career?
Yeah, that tour was steps above any of the other tours with the brothers. I wasn't on Bad because when they called me for Bad, I was supposed to be music director, actually. Then he pushed it back 10 months, and I got a call a week or 2 later from Madonna for Who's That Girl tour, and that's when I contacted Michael's organization and told them, and they said, well, we pushed back 8 or 9 months, 10 months, so you can go out and do that, and when we're ready, we'll call you. So I accepted the Madonna tour, and then when it came up, I was still under contract with Madonna, and Madonna has extended. I couldn't do the Bad tour. That's why I wasn't on Bad. I was supposed to be there, and I was supposed to be music director. So unfortunately, I couldn't get out of that contract with Madonna. So, it was impossible to do. So that's when Ricky stepped in at that point and did that tour. And while I'm doing a Bad tour, and it's Dangerous, I happened to be with his sister Janet. And I was with his sister, and he's trying to pull me. And Janet said, "No, Foot, he can't get you. I got you." And so she wouldn't let me go. So I missed Dangerous tour. And that's when he called me for the History Tour. I was with the Isley Brothers at the time, just was finishing up their rehearsals with them to get ready to go out on tour with them the next week. And then I got a call from Brad Buxer, the music director for the Michael. And he said, Michael wants you. He wants you really bad. He wants you to come back to him. I said, well, I'm with the Isley Brothers. He said, you got to get out of it. Michael said he don't want nobody else but you. He wants you. You got to do it. So I said, oh, my God. Well, I got to talk to the Ronald Isley, who's the leader of the Isleys, and appeal to him if he would let me out of it. But fortunately enough, they didn't do contracts, so I didn't have a contract. It was just a word-of-mouth verbal thing. And fortunately enough, secondly, was that he understands, he, like everybody else in the industry, know my history with the brothers. That's my family. And if I didn't have contracts, other things, it would have been easier to make a move. But, I couldn't do it because I had paperwork, and the legal aspects of it would have been, crazy. But with this one, I didn't have a contract. And so they called me, and I talked to, the next day I went to rehearsals and talked to Ronald and appealed to him and explained to him. And he was so understanding. Ronald was really wonderful with me. I love playing with Isleys. I missed that time. I just did the rehearsals. I did a couple of shows with them until my replacement came in. and that he was really understanding. He said, "Well, Sugarfoot, we love you here. We love you here. We're so happy to have you here. We want you to stay." But then again, I know that's your family. You started with them boys and that group, and that's your family. And he said, "I also know we can't afford you to pay you what they pay you." So he said like that, had us laughing. But he was kind enough to say, "We understand, that you have to go, and that's family calls. You have to go." And I said, "Yeah, that's my family. I love my family, and they need me." Me and Michael. And so he said, "Well, I don't know who you're going to get." And I said, "Well, Rayford Griffin used to do it tour with you last before I came in. Well, you can call him back. He knows your show already. You just have to add the new things." And he said, "Yeah, that's what we should do." So they wound up calling Rayford, and I wound up switching out, going with back with Michael. They shipped my stuff from their rehearsals. From the second gig I did with them. And shipped Rayford stuff in, and he just took over because he knew this stuff. He'd been with them for years. He's another one of my hero drummers, an extraordinary drummer. I mean, truly a remarkable drummer that I admire greatly, and a great friend now. I love Rayford, and he's since his John Luke Ponty days, I've been a big fan of his, and trying to study him. And so it was just, he went to the Isleys and took over that seat because he knew it already, and I went to Michael because I knew Michael's stuff, most of Michael's stuff, and I got back with Michael in '96 for that tour. In '96, '97 we did that tour. It was, I'd say the best tour I've done of all the tours that I've done. It was the best tour. That one and Blind Ambition were the two best tours, and in different ways they were best, from each other. Blind Ambition was fantastic because the magnitude of that staging was truly magnificent. They had 13 hydraulic lifts on the stage, columns that come out of nowhere. I mean, just the whole stage was so robotic and animated. And the tour itself, I played on a number of Madonna's records, and I got a chance to play my own work for a change, as well as other works that people I admired who played on her stuff or was programmed. She has a multitude of fantastic songs, hit songs. I love Madonna, and I love her work and music too. That was just a great opportunity for me, and that was my favorite tour of hers, Blind Ambition. A magnificent tour. So those two tours are my favorites of all time. But History Tour, because Michael's at his peak, and his songs were, many albums that come out bad had come out, Thriller, of course, and since I last worked with him, then Bad, and I did the Victory Tour with Thriller, but since the Bad Tour album came out, the Dangerous album came out, and then of course, like the History album had just been dropped, and it was at this peak of things, he's magnitude. And that was the most incredible tour with him because he was magnificent, man. Every time I thought I saw everything he can do, he had me electrified, and I'm back there on the drums screaming like I'm in the audience, a fan or something like that. And yeah. I was going crazy back there watching him do some mind-boggling, unrealistic things on the spins, long spins, and different other things, body movements and things that I'd never seen him do before. So I was still watching him grow as a performer and artist, and I'd been away from him so long that it was fresh and new to me again. So it was my best tour, I would say, and that one in Blind Ambition, it was almost like what I think. I think History was, because I love Michael and his music, was a bit ahead of Blind Ambition. They were close, but I think History was my absolute favorite tour I've done in my career. I've done 25 tours in my career.
You spoke a little earlier about the magic of being able to drum and control people's body movements with your work.
Yes.
And it just sort of dawned on me right then how amazing it would have been to sit at the back of the stage, drumming, controlling Michael Jackson's body movements.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or at least inspiring his body movements through your work. That would have been, that feeling must be indescribable.
Yeah, surrealistic, and I stand back there and I look, and I don't think, I'm in the midst of first of all, when I'm touring and I'm playing, I'm in the midst of my work. I'm there to work. And my mind is from first downbeat or first darkness of the curtain. I'm in the phase of the show, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I don't analyze things. Oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm going to throw okay. Or I'm drawing for Michael, and I don't think like that. I'm saying, all right, I got to make this show better than that last show. I got to do more magnificence. I got to have more power. I have to play more finesse, more articulation, be more precision and precise with my hits. My accents got to be spot on like a computer. My timing got to be like a computer. I'm feeling and thinking all of those things. You know, you got to be focused, Jonathan, 100% focused. Michael's counting on you. And that's what the midst of my work more than moments of appreciation or thrills over, you know, what I'm there, I'm behind Michael and stuff like that. I'm looking at him like, I'm watching him like with eagle eye for responses to his dance moves, you know, and that's what I'm mainly there to make him feel it and hit responses to his spontaneous movements that he may do something in a theatrical way and just stop. And I got to be prepared and got to be MIDI to him. I got to be SMPTE to him, if you know what that means, and respond as if I'm Foley and I'm a Foley artist and doing a soundtrack for a film. And something visual is happening, I got to add the Foley to it. You know, that's why I look at it. And I approach my work with Michael and all the artists, you know, when I do accents and stuff like that. I'm always on cue, always on point. My focus and concentration is astute. And it's like I can feel it. It's beyond the spiritual being. I'm so attuned to the moment and the time and the second I'm in. From second to second to minute to minute to moment to moment, I'm in that moment, and I can't allow my mind to drift because something can and will happen, and you miss something, you know, and then your reputation is not what it's supposed to be and what it was or what it should be, as far as being reliable. So those things are utmost important for me. You know, I take my work seriously. Very fortunately for me, I'm sure many other musicians feel the same way. My work is my play because I don't work drums. I play drums. I play music. Yeah. I don't work music. I play music. You can say I work music in a way for income, but I go on stage to play music, not work music. So I'm fortunate that my work is my play, is my pleasure. So I'm blessed in that respect. But I take it as serious, you know, and I play with that play on words, I do take it very, very serious. I mean, extremely serious. And I treat it as if I'm the artist. That's how important it is to me, is if I'm Michael, I'm the artist, and I want it meticulously done. I want it to perfectly, to my standards. I treat it as if it's my show. Not that it's my show. I know they're here to see, but I put as much the focus of input into it as if I'm the utmost important thing up there. And it's for me, you know, my reputation. I'm the artist out front. I approach my supportive role as if I'm the artist, you know, and I know I'm not. But in other words, I have that kind of concentration and focus and will to do it right and do it the best and do it impressive, to move the audience, to shock the audience, to enliven the audience, to blow their minds. I'm there to do that. And even though they're looking at Michael mostly, I'm doing my part to contribute to that excitement for him. And it means the world to me. It means everything to me at that moment, whatever tour I'm on, whoever's tour I'm on. It means everything. It's the existence of my life at that moment in time, or that period of time. If it's 2 hours, that's my existence in life. And I put that much importance in it. And that's what I feel about it. And that's how I approach it. And so, you know, I love working with Michael. I miss it so much. And, you know, I miss him so much. And he's incomparable. Yeah, I don't think there'll ever be anybody like him. They can't. I can't see it. I'll be surprised.
I love you. I love you too. If you can't need the baby, then don't have a baby. Don't think baby, they can't teach the baby. You will be always crying, all the time crying, all the feeling crying. Now baby slowly lying. You got to be son, where you wanna be son.
Hi, this is Michael Prince, studio engineer and producer with Michael Jackson, and you're listening to the MJCast.
So the History Tour happened, and a few years later, you would have got the call to work on two special shows that happened at Madison Square Garden in New York, the 30th anniversary concert. And it was the first time that Michael really, I think, did a show with a full orchestra.
Yes.
Tell us what it was like working in that kind of scenario.
Oh, that was, other than the history tour, that was the most fun in my life, my career. I say it wasn't like a big concert at the stadium and the production value he had there, but it was incredible, the production value. But the fact that the magnitude of stars that was there that turned out to support Michael and celebrate Michael and be there for Michael, it was just it was mind-boggling. It was a who's who of Hollywood, and there was a who's who of fanship, and the enthusiasm was just off the Richter scale in that building. It was so electrifying. And you got to remember, the brothers hadn't been together in so many years. I mean, a tremendous amount of years. So for them, and it was a reunion of them, that made it so special. You know, for me as well, because I'd always been hoping that the brothers get back, Michael gets back with the brothers and do something, and together a tour or something, a new record tour. I always wanted to see that. You know, I know Michael has reasons for doing this whole thing because he had the calling to be who he became. You know, and you can't stop the calling. But at the same time, I love family, and I missed my family, him with the brothers. So it was a great time for me to have the first reunion of him and the brothers in so long of time, way overdue. And I relished it, and I loved it, seeing them all together, and putting the pieces back together and doing that show. But the talent that was there to celebrate Michael and the talent that was there to participate was it's incredible, you know. And I got to play behind Michael. I got to play for some other things too. But when Michael's segment started, the whole world stopped. It seemed like the whole world stopped. You know, the globe stopped spinning. It was just electrifying in that room, and it was magnificent. I said, "Oh man, it's on now." You know, we had rehearsed it. We knew what we were doing, so I knew it was going to be great. You know, barring anything, you know, catastrophic happening, the stage collapsing, something crazy happening, you know, I knew it was going to be great because the show they had put together was just amazing. And even outside of the part I did with Michael, the show they put together with Quincy and other people, the conductors, you know, that conducted orchestra with parts was amazing. The songs and that they did with the other artists was amazing. It was a very positive night, 2 nights. They filmed on the 7th and then on the 10th. And it was a very positive and rewarding night of spirit to celebrate somebody had done so much in his life and with his life, and so much for many other people around the world out of love and caring and contribution, you know, unselfishly. So I think it was a perfect night, you know, perfect times, 2 nights, and perfect event that always should have been, you know. And I'm glad they got to do that, you know. And he got to experience that before the unthinkable happened. He got to experience that, how much he was loved and how much he's appreciated on that show.
Yeah.
And that those concerts, you know. And I see Mother smiling so much. She was so proud. I never forget that. She was so proud of not only Michael, but all the brothers, and that they were back together. And that meant a lot to me because I love Mother. She's like my second mother. And I mean, really been wonderful to me. I never forget her. I always appreciate and love her. But to watch her smile, I remember looking at her and watching her smile. I go periodically look over and try and see her smiling, and feel her pride. And, you know, and I felt proud to be with her sons and be with the family and considered like family, like a brother. I felt proud to be a part of that. You know, so in many ways, it was great for me and exciting for me and rewarding for me. But mainly the magnitude of the energy in the room and all of these stars that came out to celebrate Michael, and you know, and to finally, you know, after '97 to be back with Michael and do that show it's just incredible mark in my life and badge to wear that I was on the 30th anniversary special with Michael. You know, it was a tremendous tribute to him. And I'm so happy to have that on my resume.
The energy of that show reverberated completely around the globe. I know that a lot of fans of Michael became fans from seeing that performance on TV. Even Jamin, that was the moment he became a mega fan. And then a few years after that, new fans were born with the This Is It project. What were the rehearsal sessions like for This Is It before Michael became involved, like learning all of the sort of the later songs and things like that? Because these are such milestone events that they created new fans right from these moments.
Yeah, it was mainly about putting the show together, everybody doing their job, much like the other ones, learning the songs. As far as the musicians are concerned, now that the band got put together a little bit later than I got called on the 15th of April, and I went in there on the 16th with my drums and everything set up. But we didn't have all the band members just as yet. They had auditioned some people for the next 2 weeks or so. We didn't really have the full band until like the first week, I think it was, of May. So we what you heard on that movie was not a lot of time. Usually we take 2 to 3 months to rehearse, and sometimes 3.5 months to rehearse the tours. 2 months with the band, then 2 to 3 weeks with the lighting and staging. It's kind of normal. But we pulled that. What was heard in that film was pulled together, say, from the first or second week of May through the Unthinkable. Which is the 24th of June. So that's not a hell of a lot of time. We had a lot of songs to learn. Everybody was focused and pulling all these elements together and doing their parts and contributing what was expected of them. And it shows professionalism all across the board, from the lighting, the staging, the sound, the stage crews, the department heads and leaders, and the sound engineers on both monitors and sound, the film crew, and then the band, of course, a wardrobe, and the band itself, and of course the dancers and Michael and Kenny Ortega. To pull that. What was seen was only part of it. And from what I know and have been told and during the last week of rehearsal, that the next week was some things that none of us had seen before that was supposed to be introduced production-wise, a magic act or a trick or something they paid a ton of money for. To produce, over $1 million to produce it. And we were supposed to be introduced to it that next week because they kept it secret all that time. And I kept begging, come on, man, come on, I've been with Michael a long time. Show me. You can tell me. I'm not going to tell nobody. Tell me. I was trying to psych the production. They'd laugh. Paul Gonger would laugh. He said, no, Sugarfoot, no. You got to wait, Sugarfoot. You got to wait for next week, just like the rest of them. I said, oh, man. I was like a little boy. Oh, man, come on. I'm not going to tell nobody. I promise you. And I said, no, you got to wait for next week. He said, but it's going to blow your mind. This magic trick is amazing. I think Copperfield did it, or somebody did. I forgot who did. One of the biggest magicians. And there was a bunch of other things that hadn't been seen with the outside. It was supposedly, I was told, elements of production that was going to start as soon as you pull into the parking lot. And people are in costumes and all kinds of things. And people along, the ushers are in costume. It was supposed to be a big difference from your normal concert, so to speak. So what you see in the film is what I'm saying to culminate things is that you see about 75% of what was meant to be, but 75 to 80% that you're seeing, and the other 20 to 25% nobody got to see and experience, of that show that was intended to be. So the film is great, and you get to see how things come together, and it was going to be amazing, the music, and we were still working on the music at that time too, so it wasn't completely done. The actual finished product was going to be even greater than what was introduced in the film. So
I think musically it's one of my favorite sounding Michael Jackson tours. The sound is incredible. The production of the music is, I think Michael Bearden really put together something amazing. And was that the first time you'd worked with a percussionist as well? I think Bashiri Johnson was working with you on a lot of the rhythms as well, wasn't he?
He's a very good friend of mine. He's a beautiful spirit, incredible player. Yeah, and that was the first time Michael used a percussion. I worked with Louis on Madonna and other percussionists, and Durandi, of course, on Victory and Triumph and stuff. And all.
What's the difference? Can you explain to our audience, what is the difference between a drummer and a percussionist?
Well, drummer plays the whole trap kit. Percussionists, they play the rhythmic things inside the rhythms that the drummers are playing, and complementary to that. And of course, they can be, nowadays it's evolved into hand and foot instruments, but back in the day it was just hand and instruments. But it's amazing what the percussionists are doing now. I'm very excited about what they're doing and happy. I love it. They're doing all kind of things. With their foot. All kind of step-ons and control agents and cajones, all kind of things going on. Remote cajones and all kind of things going on with that's really exciting. But the difference is that drums are the 4 elements of the kit, and all the different tiers. Got the upper tiers, the cymbals, and that's it's upper frequency of a register of sound, brightest sound. And they got the toms with the mid registers of sounds that you manipulate with melodic fills and or intricate fills. And then you got the kick drum is the bottom end. The snare drum is in the mid range frequency with the crack and the mid range tones. And then you got the lower foundation. It's a bass drum. So you got 3 tiers of elements of sound that are all manipulated individually, rhythmically, that come together to make the complete rhythm. And percussionists nowadays, like I said, they're doing a lot of things. Some of them even incorporate bass drums and stuff. But as far as traditionally, they're hand instruments, including the congas, the bongos, the claves, the tambourines, the shakers, and all the triangles, all the elements, claves, all the elements of hand instruments. But it's evolved into something greater, which is magnificent to me. But traditionally, percussionists complemented the drum rhythms, and colored them and made it musical even more so by adding in to what the drum rhythm is doing and making it one complete cycle of rhythm. So we're very important to each other. Michael had never used a percussionist before, and as I understand, Michael Bearden and decided to bring him in. I'm glad. And Bashir is my buddy. I love Bashir. We have always had a wonderful relationship, and I respect him. He's an amazing, amazing percussionist. He's worked with Whitney Houston. I mean, just tremendous number list of people, the who's who of artists. And I was glad that Michael decided to be open and hard enough to allow a percussionist. Before, he never wanted a percussionist in his live shows, and that's a testament to Bashiri and his work, his playing, and his work and his spirit. Michael felt comfortable with him and liked him, but he also felt good with his performances, so enough to let him stay and want him, even though he never did take one before. He decided to bend his rule because Bashiri was an additive to his show and to the spirit of the people that surrounds him. Meaning the personality that Bashiri has fits into Michael's spirit and our spirits, and he felt comfortable with him and said, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to allow Bashiri, something about Bashiri he liked, I know. And he felt, and Bashiri more than handled it. And I was so glad that he was there. I wanted him to be there. So once I found out he was going to be there, I was excited. And that was a great move on Bearden's part. And Bearden did a great job of producing the show and with Michael and arranging the show. I mean, a great job, So it turned out to be, wow, the legacy of that film, I'd have to say, stands as a testament of my career, because it shows what we go through and it takes to put on not only a Michael show, but a show of that magnitude. And what we all individual goes through and all the elements of everything. And it shows the element of how I work, my end of work, because I do a lot of sessions too, but I'm mainly known for doing live shows. And it shows the element of my work, how I work, and how everybody else works to make it all come together, so that in the end result, when people get their tickets and come to the arena and get their seats, they'll get to see what they see as the full entertainment presentation. And now they get to see what goes into it to make it that, and they appreciate it more, if they had seen that show after it was done. But they got to see it. And they got the one thing very important to mention is that they got to see that Michael was in charge. A lot of people thought that Michael had people dictating things or doing things and arranging things and he just do what they tell him. It goes to show that Michael was in charge and he knew what he wanted. He's been doing it so long, since from very, very young. He was seasoned when he first started, I have to say. When he first sang and opened his mouth to sing, he sang like a seasoned artist, a grown man singing about love and experiences. Like he had a woman and broke up with her, and he was like 5, 6 years old. What you know about that, man? But he's singing like he had really experienced it, and he related to it, the heartbreak and the hardship of a breakup. Who's loving you blew everybody at that time on Earth's mind. How can this little boy sing with such experience of knowledge and spiritual knowledge and of heartbreak and heartache with that much emotion, as if he lived it, and he's only 6 years old, 8 years old, whatever. So this goes to show, this tour and this movie goes to show the journey of Michael from that point when he had I think he had a head start as an artist, being a child prodigy and being gifted beyond most people that ever lived as artists. He was gifted when he was born, basically, to sing that season that young. He was special anointed. I always tell people, everybody of us, that everybody on earth is gifted. They just got to learn what their gift is and spend time nurturing it. Most people don't get to find out what their gift is because they don't spend enough time to study themselves inwardly and learn and find out what makes them happy and what their true gift is. So they never find it, so they figure they're not good at anything. But that's a mistake. And so I always say that everybody's gifted, but I say the truly gifted ones, like the artists and fortunate people like myself, musicians who play, which we're artists too. I think that God lays his hands on all of us. And the really gifted ones like Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, and other artists that are true, and Prince, and Madonna, and all other ones that had something that lifted up to the stature where they were. But there's certain, when God leaves his hands on them a little bit more than most average person. It shows what their accomplishments and their gifts. But with Michael, I feel, and I tell people, that God put his hand on Michael's spirit and on him when he was a baby or in the womb or wherever it happened. And he forgot it there. He left it there longer than most people because it anointed Michael with traits and attributes that other people, even the seasoned artists, don't have and don't do. That's why Michael lifted up and became who he is and what he is to the industry and magnificent and somebody to see, somebody to hear as an artist. He's like the guidepost and the lighthouse of the industry. Everybody waited for him to drop a new record to see what the new sound was going to be, see what the new song arrangement is going to be, to hear his inflections of his voice and his tremendous vocal talent and wait for his videos to come out to set a new precedence for music videos. Everybody was waiting in the industry every year, a year or two, he put an album out. The anticipation was growing, and I waited for his next. I can't wait till Michael's next new album come out because he set the trend and the precedence for the industry to follow. So I think God left his hand on Michael longer, and it shows through the depth of his talents from beyond the years that he was when he first started contributing to music and entertainment, when he was just the slightest of little boys, and how he moved the world then and shocked the world with his abilities. First shocking Mother, and then Mother turning Joseph on it, then shocking Joseph, and then with the brothers, what he did with his brothers. I think he was a special human being.
On that thread, being touched and Michael's sort of essence, Michael was really focused on getting his message of love, peace, humanitarianism, and looking after the planet out there through the This Is It project. Was this true of your interactions with him?
Yes, absolutely. It was always. Now he worked on the show, and his focus is on the show being the biggest and the greatest thing. Like he always said, his motto was make it bigger than life. Everything's got to be bigger than life. You have to leave them walking away with something that they'll remember for the next 10 years or maybe all their life in your show. So make it bigger than life. And I think that was his main focus, is getting the show together to impress that much and to blow people's minds and be the greatest thing that show that ever happened. But underlying, behind the scenes and all of that, and underneath all of that was his intention to be able to further move the world and affect the world through his philanthropy and his caring and the things he had planned on with the money, as well as his visits to the hospital to continue like he did before, and to be present in people's lives, to touch and affect their lives. Those with little hope or no hope, or that needs caring for, and those with challenged physical ability, challenged physical states. And the starvation in Africa. I mean, Michael, all those things was in his spirit to be able to step in and do something about it. He's just one man, but one man could do something, and he showed and proved that one man could do a lot. So people say, "I'm just one man. What can I do?" You can do a lot. He showed that. He proved that. So, and the magnitude of who he was and what he could do, he showed and proved that. And I think that this tour was going to be an extension of that and continuation of that. But even on a grander scale, he had plans for a lot of things and that he wanted to do to continue to wake the people up, that we need to do more for people that can't do more for themselves. We need to do more for the earth and the planet and be aware of what we're doing to it. And it's our only home. He cares about ecology. He cared about every little thing. I remember in the concert in Germany on that live video that we did. But there was one point in one of the German shows where he was on stage and talking right before, I think, the J5 medley, or one of the songs. I'm not sure if that's the one, but, he's talking and walking back and forth, and he happened to look down. Thank God he did. And he said, "Oh, a bug. There's a bug on the stage." And it's right at his feet.
Yeah.
And he said, "Bug."
That was in the Munich show, yeah.
Yeah, I almost stepped on it. So he said, "Security, come get this bug." The security guy, Wayne Hagen, our security guy, had to come out there and pinch the bug, pick him up, and carry him off to the stage, because Michael cared about that life. And now most people, they wouldn't even either see it or just don't care about it, just continue to show. If they stepped on it, whatever. Michael stopped that show, that multi-million-dollar show, to save that bug's life. So I guess you can say he was a superhero in a way.
That's how we think of him.
He didn't have a cape on, that's all. He forgot his cape in the dressing room. His leotard, and didn't have time to go change it to this. There was no phone booth around, so he could change. So, but anyway, he had to save that bug's life, and he did. So bravo, Michael, bravo.
Well,
so he's humanitarian and, I guess, insectitarian, whatever you want to call it.
Well, not every superhero needs a cape, as I think Michael proved.
Yeah.
I've got a question. This is from one of our followers at MJFFC on Twitter. And I had a similar question, so I kind of joined them both together. Michael, having worked with so many big-name hip-hop producers that have a lot of very interesting sort of complex beats on records, what was the process of trying to adapt a beat that's really like a hip-hop inspired complex beat on a song to being a live production on a drum kit? How do you start adapting that?
And you just start,
like Scream, for example, or something like that.
For me, it's easy. New Orleans music, and especially New Orleans drummers, we're very, very rhythmic. Our beats down there is really tribal, as you say, and rhythmic and syncopated a lot. So, in my learning and training through all the years playing in clubs and just the culture of it, because all drummers say, "How do you play New Orleans music? How do you learn that special thing New Orleans drummers got?" I said, "You have to go down there and live amongst the culture, and then you absorb it and you become it. There's nothing you could teach in a book or anything like that." But me having grown up in that element and being part of my instinct and who I am, and as a drummer, our rhythms are so complex a lot of times that it's just instinctive and natural. And I listen to it and I just copy what I hear. I become a canon copier or whatever copy you want to call it, brother copier. And then my mind copies what I hear and I replicate it and I duplicate it. And the elements and amounts that is supposed to be done for whatever verse or chorus or whatever. I count the bars. I don't read, but I know how to count bars. And so basically, it's not difficult for me. I just figure out the rhythms is happening and little percolated rhythms underneath on the snare. And maybe basically just mimicking what I hear. It becomes more complicated when you try to get too scientific about it and you confuse yourself and then you have trouble getting it and learning it. But basically what we do is we just listen to something, we copy it, we make it simple. And I just copy it to the best of my ability. And it's natural for me, like I said, because New Orleans rhythms are complicated like that. And a lot of the hip-hop rhythms and hip-hop artists and songs have rhythms in it exactly like or very, very similar to or most like New Orleans type rhythms. So I've been doing that all my life. A lot of people haven't got me to hear me play that because on Billie Jean I can't play that. It's very simple 2 and 4. Madonna music I can't play that stuff except for Keep It Together. Madonna song Keep It Together I got to play a little more here. I played on that record, that album, that record, and like I said, Prince played on that too. But I got to demonstrate some of the funky syncopated hip hop things I kind of do, that feel and that style and that bass drum rhythmic thing that I do, and this kind of syncopated and hip hop kind of style. But that's been in my blood since I was young, since I was 9 or 10. So when hip hop came out and rap and all that stuff came out and New Jack Swing and all that, I was doing that was a little boy. That stuff was easy for me. So when they program all that stuff, it's pretty easy for me because it's part of my nature and nuance of who I am and my character, spiritual character from my culture down in New Orleans. So, him working with the rap artists is right up my alley because, it's rhythms that I'm familiar with anyway. It's not difficult,
Jonathan, this is like maybe a bit of a tough question. Around the "This Is It" time, we're sort of just wondering, as the preparations continued, and then of course the tragedy happened. Do you remember, or do you feel comfortable sharing what was the last thing Michael said to you?
He said at the end of rehearsal, after we finished we almost finished the first run. That was the first full run through. We were making, without stopping, so to speak. We had to stop a couple of times, but for the most part, we were just almost through the first run through, and it got so late that we had to break it to the next day to finish up the last 2 or 3 songs, whatever. And then he talked to everyone, but he grabbed me, and we stood there, and he said, "Thank you you sound great. You sound amazing. It's gonna be so great. Isn't it gonna be great?" I said, "Yes, it's gonna be great." And he said, "So exciting, huh?" I said, "Yes, it's gonna be exciting." He said, "You're doing a great job." I said, "Thank you, Michael." He said, "Oh, don't." He said, "For what?" He said, "I love having you here. It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a great time and everything. So you did a great job today, and I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't wait till tomorrow." He's excited and enthusiastic. "I can't wait till tomorrow. I can't wait till tomorrow. We go through the rest, and we be our first run through. So I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, get some rest. We'll be back at it tomorrow." And I said, "Okay." So he said, and he hugged me, and we said, "Okay, all right, bye, Michael." He said, "Bye, Foot." And he's laughing, smiling like a little boy, and and then we hugged, and that was around 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had no clue that that was the last hug I'd get from him. That last time I hear him talk, see him, it was just different. Looking back on it, very different, very difficult. Just think about that. You don't know in people's lives. That's why you got to treat everybody with love and respect every time you see them, every time you're around them, every time you approach somebody, every time you address somebody. Because if somebody you care about, or whatever, especially if there's those are you related to, you don't know if that's the last time you're going to see them breathing, alive, and animated. I look at that now and I see why. But I'm thankful. I've always shared my love with Michael and told him I love him and hugged him, and we laughed and smiled about the old tours, and we always talk about that and the kids, and he met my kids and stuff, and he asked me about them and stuff like, "Remember the tours? Remember the Destiny tour? We reminisce all that kind of stuff, You still smoke? I never smoked in my life. He said, "You don't smoke, huh?" I said, "No." He said, Good. Don't start. Like that too. "You drink, huh?" I said, "No, I don't drink. I never did." Mike. "Oh, good. Don't start." We talk about personal things like that, and because we have a relationship in a personal way too. Not that I was there every day with him at his house or around him. No, it wasn't that. When he needed me for a tour, he called me. But we started back where we left off as a personal love relationship between two brothers, and it just was spiritual that way. We didn't have to say much. We just knew, we were connected.
Yeah.
And so that's what basically happened, and that was that. So I was left with the results of what it became, what it is. And it's very, very extremely difficult.
Did you have any inkling as the tour was progressing in production? Did you have any inkling that he was battling something so full on in his personal life, or many around you like Kenny Ortega and Karen Faye, they could pick something was up? Did you notice, or were you just focused on the music and the performance with him?
When I first saw him, when I first got there for the rehearsals, and he finally saw each other. I saw him, and he was a distance away on the phone. When he got off the phone, he came hug me. When I hugged him, I said, "My God, there's nothing here." He was so skinny and frail. I was scared. I really had genuine fear within me. That was the first day of rehearsal. I got there, I think it was the 16th of April, and I was afraid, but I knew Michael was always thin, but he was painfully thin then. But you got to remember, and I remember, he had just went through extraordinary ordeal in that courtroom and with all that stuff that teared down spiritually, mentally, and physically. So I knew he was trying to come back from that, rebuild himself and his health and everything from that. That was so destructive, And I knew that maybe that was why, because I had heard in the press that he wasn't eating and he was having trouble like that for doing things like that. So, but it shocked me to no end that my arms wrapped around him and touched my own shoulders, and I was like, "Oh my God!" But then when we got into rehearsals, he was fine. He seemed fine most of the time. Sometimes he would seem tired, but I can understand that, because you're wearing all the hats. You're wearing all the hats. The promotion aspect of the show, the accounting aspect, meeting with accountants, meeting with the lawyers, all this during one single day on the phone or physically. You're meeting with your management team. You're meeting with the wardrobe people is measuring up, talking about costumes and stuff. You're meeting with the dancers. All this is separately. Then you got to meet with the background singers and work with them and get that stuff right. Then you got to come eventually with the band individually. I mean, the band by themselves. Then you got to meet with everybody and do it all together. That's so many hats to wear. That can wear anybody down, and the kind of energy he puts out. Now, even though he wasn't going full out at rehearsals, you got to remember he hadn't been on tour since 87 or 89 when he did them 2 shows. And he had just been through a tremendously horrible ordeal. And it will break anybody down spiritually, mentally, and physically. So my fear was his weight and his physical stature, but then he showed days like, I see nothing wrong with him. What am I worried about? He's killing it up there. He's tearing it up. But I said the tiredness I thought came from, all of those meetings he has to have. I just get there. I drive from home. I wait until the last minute before it's the time for me to show up at the rehearsal. I drive from home, go right there in the time to rehearsal. That's all I got to do. Finish rehearsals, drive home. He had to be there early in the morning, do different things, meetings, all those meetings I mentioned, and be a part of every aspect of it pretty much. That was very difficult. Of course, you're going to be tired. So, and I didn't think about so much fear about all of that because I knew how it always took a lot out of him, because he's doing everything. So, yeah, I was there. And sometimes he would be there and he'd be like, a little disoriented about parts and stuff like that. He would know where I'm going to be, my position and stuff like that. He wouldn't be with the other dancers, but I knew he was tired. Then the next day he'll come in and he will kill it. I mean, like, yeah, that's the Michael I know. That's Michael. He would absolutely kill it. So I knew it was fluctuating from day to day that he would be different. Sometimes 2 or 3 days really great, and then the next day he's just tired. He wasn't sleeping. I didn't know he had the problem with sleeping. I had no idea. All the years I worked with him, I didn't know he needed that stuff to sleep. I didn't know he had a sleeping issue. I never knew that. He kept it quiet, and I never knew to put it like that. So that was a shock to me when I found out what was happening. I said, no, how did he kill it? How did he kill those shows on this History Tour with no sleep? That made him more of a Superman. If he can do them shows like he did on History Tour, they said he was going through that no sleep period back then too. And I said, how did he do that? He's really a Superman because he was killing the shows on History Tour. It was amazing on 30th anniversary special. So further to me, he earned the cape, the cape and the M on his chest or whatever, because if he was going through all of that stuff with no sleep and perform the way he did, it's absolutely remarkable. He could put on a 2.5-hour show or a 2-hour show under those conditions and perform like he did on the History Tour and on the 30th anniversary special. So my thing is, I didn't know he was having sleep problems. That was something that was kept from me. I didn't know that until the trial. So, but he was. There was a lot of days he was right on it. He was directing things, as you can see in the film. If he was, I think he had something wrong with the sleep element and stuff like that. I didn't know. I never heard the word propofol in my life until the trial. But I didn't know he was doing that stuff. But what I'm trying to say is, yeah, he had some impairments. I could tell something was wrong. But then he come and kill it the next day. So, but I'm saying is, if he was totally dysfunctional and torn down, you wouldn't have a This Is It film, would you? There would be nothing good enough to produce a This Is It film with. So there was enough of him there that he was trying to rebuild, as you remember, get himself back together from a hiatus of touring. It was 97, and enough of him to rebuild to give you enough great footage to do This Is It. Now he's pulling himself back together. He may not have been the right on point on everything, but he was good in a lot of things, enough for the world to appreciate that film. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
A lot of things I wasn't privy to know that I didn't know it was going wrong or going on. So I was blinded to that until the trials. Yeah, but what I saw him on some days, and I saw him some days troubling to me. I was worried about him, but I knew he was tired. And I thought about it. I was trying to figure it out. I said, man, Jonathan, he got to do all the other things, work with all the elements of the show. Of course he's tired. I had to rationalize it that way, not thinking or knowing, because I didn't know he was sick or not sleeping or taking that stuff. So, my rationalization said that he's doing all these other things, meetings and rehearsals and stuff. That's why he was tired. But that's where I explained it to myself, and I saw from what I saw.
can't go wrong. I'm so proud to say loving you. Your love's got me high. I long to get by. My life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. Hey, voice now, you my choice now. The love hands in my heart, look when I hear hearts and angels sing. You know how I feel. This thing can't go wrong. I can live my life with you. Love's got me high. I feel wrong. My life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? I just can't stop loving you. I just start shining. I find the more you waste me, the you can take me. I'll wait for you. Know how I feel. This thing can't go on. I'm so proud to say I love you. I do. This thing can't go wrong. This feeling so strong. Well, my life ain't worth living if I can't be with you. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? I just can't stop loving you. We can change all the world tomorrow. We can sing the songs of yesterday. I can say farewell to sorrow. This is my life, and I want to sing it all. I just can't stop loving you. Oh, baby, I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just what will I do? What will I do? I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just now, honey. Tell me. I just can't stop loving you. I just can't stop loving you. And if I stop, then tell me just right now. Because I just can't stop. I just can't stop. I just can't stop, baby. I just can't stop. Yeah. I can't stop, no, baby. I just can't stop. I just can't stop, no. I just can't stop. I can't stop, baby. I can't stop, no. I can't stop, no, baby. I can't stop, no. I just can't stop. I just can't stop loving you.
This is Tommy Organ Guitars on the Michael Jackson This Is It Tour, and you're listening to the MJCast.
So, Jonathan, a question that we ask every single special guest that we ever have on the MJCast is, how should Michael be remembered?
Michael, to remember Michael is to remember a beautiful spirit and a beautiful human being. His talent is something altogether different, but I think the talent stemmed from his original spirit of being a very, very sensitive, in tune with life, in tune with appreciation, in tune with love, on the same frequency and circuit of love. I think that's the person that used those elements, the love and the appreciation of life and the caring, to become a great artist, because you apply those things to your craft and what you do, and what does that equal? Greatness. It equals the greatness of talent, because you're that sensitive to hone your craft and develop yourself, and you're more sensitive than others to do that to the degree that he did, to become the king of pop or the king of music or king of entertainment. However you want to look at it, you have to be extremely sensitized to develop your craft, to be as prolific and dynamic as he was as a performer. As a singer, his sensitivities and his vibrato and his tone, his vocal inflections when he sings, his sensitivity to the words and the expression of the words of his music that make people cry, make people feel the emotion of his songs and relate to his songs and the lyrics of his songs. I think that all stems from the depth of love and depth of caring, depth of humanity that was in him, and like I say, most of all, depth of love. And I think that still stems from Mother, who guided him in his younger years. She was Jehovah's Witness, and that faith, they professed love and caring. They went to go door to door. Michael used to do that with his mother, and I think she was a culmination of the Michael that we got to know. I mean, if not for that, we may have maybe a different Michael. Mother, how should she lay the foundations with the humanitarian traits that she instilled in him through her beliefs and the way she is. She's like Michael. She's so sensitive, so caring, so loving. You couldn't find a person more so than her. And Michael gravitated toward that and became that because she guided him in his early life, which carried over to his older life, and his generosity and his love and going visit people just like he did when he was with his mother, going visit people at Jehovah's Witness, go door to door. He going to hospital, visiting people, spending time with these kids, buying them gifts and bringing them things, they never expected to get, making them smile when they have everything to frown about, some of them facing the end of their life. And then Mike shows up and then make them feel like they're going to live for another 20, 30, 40 years, all of that stems from the guidance of Mother. I've always seen it that way, and I've always appreciated that. And I think that's the seeds of the origin of greatness that made him become who he became. And he applied that to his music, that same kind of passion for those things. He applied to his passion for music, which is all his sensitivity, of human sensitivity and magnitude and magnification of the soul and of the light, which we all are. So he was so in tune with life and life force and the depth of soul of the creative source that it demonstrated through everything he did and that he chose to do and focus on in his life. Even his artwork is magnificent as an artist. He excelled at everything. He's a prolific artist. All of that comes from depth of soul and depth of sensitivity of the spirit. And I think Mother had a lot of time. I think he was born and gifted with that before we could ever know at what stage of the birth process we can ever know that, God lays his hands on us or we become a living human being. We haven't figured that out yet. But as far as, once he hit the earth, landed on earth, and to birth, his mother had everything to do with that. Because she's just a sensitive human being as he was. He is her, and she is him. And what he brought to the world is basically her and her spirit to basically shower the world with who she is, basically through him. So she guided him. I think they'll remember the things he's done is of his music, of course, and his creativity and the magnitude of his gifts and talent and prowess. But I think a lot of people will remember what he's done for people that he didn't even know. He wasn't even related to. He had no real requirement to do for anybody else, but he did it. I think that's what he should be remembered for. To me, you know what I call him? I call him the American ambassador of love. I think he's an ambassador of love that represents, because he's from America, so American ambassador of love. That he represents the country the way he went globally. And it didn't matter what country you were from or was in a dilemma, or, in the hospital or whatever, or in the old folks' home, or, whatever you were facing. He went there as if you was an American citizen, or you was basically beyond that, as if you, which you are, a fellow human being. He bypassed the labels that we give each other from country to country, denotation of race, or color, religion, and nationality. He bypassed all of that, and he saw the human being. He went straight to the source, human being. And that human being needs something, needs help, whatever. So I think that's what he should be remembered for, just as much or more so than his music creativity. Of course, that's the vehicle that he used to be able to do these other things. That's what people don't understand. He used the vehicle of creativity in his music and his popularity of music as a vehicle to be able to reach out to the world and get his messages across about the earth and about caring and love for everybody, love each other, and to go visit these people at the hospital. He used this. If you really look at it, under the microscope, he used all that popularity and stuff like that, and gold and platinum albums and all the money he made to be able to have a chance to travel the world. And as a traveling salesman of love, so to speak, he peddled love and unity. So I think, to me, I'll remember him for both, of course, but I'll remember him as being a very sensitive human being that we unfortunately lost. We lost one of the best ones. One of the best human beings. Now they'll be like sheep. A lot of the world is like sheep with no shepherd, because he was a shepherd.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you, Jonathan.
You're welcome.
And just as we're wrapping up now, how about I'd love to learn from you what you're up to now. Like, have you got any cool projects coming out in the future? You spoke about a book, which I'm incredibly excited about.
Yeah, I'm working. I've been working on it for many years. I keep saying it, but I got to find a publisher, and I'm looking for publishers and at publishers. So it's going to be a coffee table book type book, oversized, make it interesting, conversation piece at people's homes, those who choose to have it and possess it, and be a combination pictorial, videography of my life and career. I have so many elements. One of my blessings, I say the smart things I did. I'm a collector. I'm an archivist. I got writings from when I was a kid, where I write mindset material, like my social feelings or different things. I got songs that I've written. I've got poetry I write. I have video for my tours is going to be included. I will tell my miraculous story on audio disc, because there'll be an audio disc included in the book, and as well as in printed. You can read along, like I said, and all of this stuff. So, and I have so many elements to this book. It's going to be all inclusive. Like I said, it's going to be an audio disc and video disc inside. I got tour footage. I filmed a lot of stuff as I travel, tour footage travel, and with me talking in the background in different cities and countries and interesting things like that. And my photo library is pretty extensive. And I'll be soliciting photographs and video from Madonna, Elton John, George. Unfortunately, another thing, my heartbreak over George Michael. Losing him Christmas Day, it was very hard for me. I knew he was planning on rejoining, putting the Wham band back together, and my name was up for that for this year. But regardless of that, I lost a very dear friend, and so unexpectedly, and that's another loss that I had beside Michael. So I have footage from him, working with him, and everybody I've worked with. I'll be soliciting all the different organizations of the people that I work with to get some input and commentary and photographs and video to include in the book. That makes it interesting as well. And that some things a lot of things they have that I don't have. So contributions in that light. So I'm working on that book project. I'm writing music all the time. I have so many songs, maybe 200 songs in the works at some stage or other. I'm working on albums. I have a Christmas album that's already done, and it's called Christmas Again. And I'm going to be promoting that this Christmas coming up. I got a dance music album project to do. I have a pop music records to do. smooth jazz album to do. I have a lot of things on slate because I have music for all of these different things. I've just been working and not able to finish everything up or focus on one project because I get excited about another project. So that's one of my problems.
A true artist.
My mind is so scattered and excitement about all these things. I don't finish one thing because I'm working on all things, you know. So but there's a lot of things happening that I like to do and I want to do. So,
Jonathan, your story is incredible. We want as many people as possible to learn from your stories and to learn from you and to appreciate not only you as an artist and as a musician, but as a person. And I don't want anyone to miss out on this. So I'm going to quickly share where people can find you so they can cover all of the bases, because you're across a lot of platforms on the internet. You're on Instagram and Twitter as J Moffett, MJM. On Facebook and YouTube, you can be found as Jonathan Sugarfoot Moffett. You've got a great YouTube channel there, and you've got a website, which is in so much detail on your website as well, and that is jmdb.world. Have I missed anything?
You missed giving credit to my beautiful, wonderful fiance, Myra Hisami, who put all of those things together, and she runs my social media, and she created the website. She handles my Facebook, she has my Instagram especially, and she's one out of the Silicon Valley range of talented people. She's remarkable and not only a stunning, the most beautiful woman in the world to me, a stunning looker, so to speak. So she's an incredible talent of the medium that she works in. She's truly amazing. And if you want to see her work, you go to my site, my JMDB site, and you can see her work, and as well as the Instagram. She does all my videos, and she does the photos, retouching, and all the things that promotes me. And I'm very thankful and grateful to have her in my life, and in my world of business as well. We're working on projects to do for the rest of our lives together as a company and as a team. So she's extremely talented, you know, in those aspects as well as an artist. So I'm very appreciative to her for her making me be able to be seen in a global scale.
Well, credit where credit is due, because you're a very lucky man in more ways than one. She's doing a terrific job. You've got some great stuff online.
Yeah, I love those videos.
Truly blessed, to have her in my life.
Well, we've been truly blessed to have this amazing conversation with you, and one day we're going to have to get you back because there's so much more to learn.
Yes, I love to come back to Australia. I love it there. It's fantastic. I really feel comfortable there, feel natural there, feel normal. And people are so friendly and loving and caring, and it's just a wonderful place to be. And so I'm looking for the opportunity to get back there on some tour or something event. We'll see what happens in the near future or far future.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, thank you again, Jonathan, for coming on the MJCast. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor. And we can't wait to have you back in the future. Thank you.
You're very welcome. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, our absolute respect to you. And we know that we're going to have some great feedback when this does go to air. So we really appreciate your time and the detail, and also just the candor that you've answered with. Like, you got really deep, and I think people are going to really appreciate such incredible answers and really putting us there in the moment and helping share the feelings that you had. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. I'm glad that if they can, any of them can relate to what my life experience is and was, and I'll be very appreciative and happy to know that they appreciate my life and thank them for following my career.
Jamin's going to be becoming a father in the next couple of months for the first time. So we wanted to sort of get something of really a top quality that we can drop to our listeners when Jamin's away. looking after the baby. So this is just
learning how to be a dad.
Yeah, learning how to be a dad. So this is such quality that are so grateful for. We really truly appreciate it.
Well, congratulations, Jamin. That's awesome. That's an important time in life, and congratulations and much love to you and your wife and your baby and your new addition to the family. You're a star that fell from heaven that's coming into your life, and it's going to be a wonderful experience. I think it'll change your life in ways that you can't imagine in a positive way.
The MJCast.